Hello everyone, very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the new session of our e-learning class. I am Rashmi Ranjan Mishra, lecturer of UN Autonomous College of Science and Technology. Today I am going to discuss with you relating to a subject that is cost and management accounting. So on today's discussion we will work out a problem that is relating to overhead distribution summary. So listen carefully and watch my video. If you are having any doubt, then you can give your comment in my comment section. So now we are going to discuss distribution of overhead. Before going to work out the problem, first we must have to know what we mean by overhead. Overhead that comprise of all indirect expenses, that means indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses. So the sum total of all indirect item that consist of overhead. So in an organization, for continuing the business activities, there are different expenses incurred. The expenses are divided into two parts, that is direct expenses and indirect expenses. So the all indirect expenses which are incurred for production of a product or providing any service activities, that is indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses. The sum total of all the indirect items that consist of overhead. There are different classification of overhead, that may be manufacturing or factory overhead, there is office or administrative overhead and also selling and distribution overhead. So on today's class, when we will work out the problem relating to distribution of overhead summary, before discussing that, first we must have to know what is the basic difference between allocation and apportionment. In case of allocation, it indicates the whole item of expenses relating to a particular department should be charged to that department. That means allocation indicates to charge directly that relate to the particular department. So there are different item of expenses that relate to a particular department, and the organization must have to be allot that item of expenses particularly to that department. That is called as allocation, directly charging of expenses. But in case of apportionment, that is not directly charged that expenses to the particular department, but it will be distributed to several departments that relate to production department as well as service department. So certain item of expenses, when it is not particularly identified to a particular department, organization that distribute that item of expenses or apportion that item of expenses to several departments on a suitable basis or on an equitable basis. That is called as a apportionment. So apportionment signifies the distribution of overhead or the apportionment of overhead relating to several departments on some equitable basis. So that apportionment is divided into two parts. That is a case of a primary apportionment, another one is secondary apportionment. So primary distribution, it is called as apportionment of overhead. That means the all item of indirect expenses charged to several departments should be distributed to that department on some equitable basis. But in case of a reapportionment, which is called as secondary distribution, where we charge the service department cost to the production department on an equitable basis. So in today's class we will discuss only relating to primary distribution. In our next class we will discuss the secondary distribution, or which is called as a redistribution of overhead. So there is a problem relating to primary distribution of overhead. The modern company is divided into three production departments, P1, P2 and P3, and one service department, that is S1. The actual cost for a period as follows. There are several items of expenses and the cost incurred to that is rent, that is 1000, repairs to plant 600, depreciation of a plant 450, employers liability for insurance, that is 150, supervision 1500, fire insurance in respect of a stock, that is 500, power, that is 900, and lighting, that is 120. The following information is available in respect of the four departments, which is both production department P1, P2 and P3 and one service department S1. So the bases are there. Area, which is on square meter, P1 that is 1500, P2 1100, P3 900 and S1 that is 500. Then number of employees that relates to P1 20, P2 15, P3 10, S1 5. the total wages in terms of rupees, that is relating to P1, that is 6,000, production department 2, that is 4,000, department 3, that is 3,000, and service department, that is 2,000. Value of stock in terms of rupees, that relates to production department P1 15,000, P2 9,000, P3 6,000, and a service department, that is nil. And the next one is value of a plant in terms of rupees, that relates to production department P1 24,000, P2 that is 18,000, department P3 that is 12,000, and service department S1 that is 6,000. And the next one is horsepower of a plant, that is relating to production department P1 24, department P2 that is 18, department P3 that is 12, and a department service department S1 that is 6. The question is asking apportion the cost to the various department on most equitable basis. So we have to charge all the indirect items to several department, both production department as well as the service department on some equitable basis, which is a case of a primary distribution of a overhead or apportionment of a overhead. So let us watch, we will work out that problem or providing the solution relating to this particular problem. We will make a table that relate to overhead distribution summary. Now under that there are several columns. So this is the format of a overhead distribution summary. The first column that represents items where we have to represent all the indirect items separately one by one. The next column that is basis of apportionment, that means where we charge relating to a particular item the number of or the bases which are mentioned in our question. Then the total that represents the amount of indirect expenses. Then there is two column, one is relating to production department which is divided into three parts. There are three production department P1, P2 and P3. Then another one is that is relating to service department, and in our question there is only one service department, that is S1. So we will work out one by one all the item of indirect expenses on the most equitable basis, which is called as our primary distribution of overhead. So the first item, that is rent. We already discussed the basis of apportionment relating to primary distribution. Rent that is allotted on area or floor area basis. So we must have to mention it on the basis column, that is floor area, and the amount of expenses, that is 1,000. That 1,000 will be distributed to both production and a service department on this basis, that is 15:11:9:5. So we must have to mention it 15:11:9:5. That means the total of all, that is 15 plus 11 plus 9 plus 5, that is 26, 35, 40. So we must have to divide it 40 and allot the total of 1,000 amount of expenses to this four department on this basis. That means production department P1 will get 15/40 of 1,000, department P2 will get 11/40 into 1,000, department P3 will get 9/40 into 1,000, and S1 will get 5/40 into 1,000. So accordingly we will work out by using rough, then we will put the amount of expenses to several departments. So when we will distribute 1,000 into 15/40, so that is 375 that will be allotted to department P1. Then the next one is that is 25 1000 divided by 40, that is 25 multiplied into 11, that means that is 275 that is allotted to P2. Then 9 by 40 of 1000, that means 25 multiplied into 9, that is 225. Then 25 multiplied by 5, that is 125. So this is the sum of all the items relating to several department is equal to the total, that means 375 plus 275 plus 225 plus 125, that equal to 1000. Then we will discuss the other items, that is the next repairs to plant. So this item of expenses will be distributed on value of a plant. There is one item or there is one base, suitable base, that is value of a plant. On this basis we have to distribute that. Under the basis column we must have to mention it value of a plant or plant value, and the ratio of these is equal to 24:18:12:6, or if we will make it in smaller form, then that is 4 divided by 6 all, that is 4 3 2 1, 4:3:2:1, that means the sum of all is equal to 7 plus 2 9 plus 1 10. Accordingly we have to distribute the item of expenses, that is 600. So department P1 will get 600 into 4 by 10, that is 240. Then 600 divided 3 by 10, that is 180. 600 divided 2 by 10 into 2 by 10, that is 120. Then the S1 will get 600 into 1 by 10, that is 60. Then the next item, that is depreciation of a plant. It is also distributed on that same base, that is plant value or value of plant. Because depreciation of a plant means on the plant we will charge depreciation, so we will take the most suitable base, that is plant value. So here the same base, that is 4:3:2:1. So the amount of depreciation, that is 450. So department P1 will get 450 into 4 by 10, that means 45 into 4, that is 180, that will get P1. Then 45 into 3, that is 135, 45 into 2, that is 90, then 45 into 1, that is 45. Service department S1 will get only 45 rupees. Then the next one is employer's liability for insurance. So employer's liability, it will be take into consideration the most suitable basis, that is number of employees, as it is contributed by the employer to the employee. So we will take into consideration the most suitable base, that is number of employees. So here the base is 20:15:10:5. If we will make it into smaller form, then that is divided by 5 all, we will get 4:3:2:1. 4:3:2:1. The sum total of all is 10. The item of expenses and the value is 150. Employer's liability for insurance, that is 150, that will be divided to each on the base, this basis. So department P1 will get 150 into 4 by 10, that is 60. Department P2 will get 150 into 3 by 10, that is 45. Then department P3 will get 150 into 2 by 10, that is 30. And a service department S1 will get 150 into 1 by 10, that is 15. Then the next item, that is supervision. So it will also take into consideration the appropriate base, that is also number of employees. because supervision is made towards the employees when supervisor is engaged. So here the appropriate base is number of employees. The ratio is 4:3:2:1. Sum of the ratio is 10. The amount of expenses relating to supervision, that is 1500. So the allotment to all the department P1, that you will get 600, department P2 450, then department P3 300, then this is 150. Then the next one is fire insurance in respect of a stock. Fire insurance. So relating to that fire insurance, we will take the most appropriate basis, as it is insurance in respect of a stock. So we will take into consideration the value of a stock as the most appropriate or suitable base. So the base is stock value, and relating to that the ratio is 15:9:6. S1 department will not get anything as there is no allotment. So the ratio is 15:9:6. So that sum is 30. The amount of fire insurance, that is 500. So department P1 will get 15 into 500 into 15 by 30. That means 1/2. That is relating to 200. 500 multiplied by 2. So 1/2, that is 500 divided by 2, that is 250. Will get P1. Then P2 will get 500 into 9/30. So the amount is 150. Then department P3 will get 500 into 6/30. That means 100. S1 will get nothing, that is nil. Then the next one is power. So the relating to power, the most equitable base, that is horsepower of a plant. Horsepower of a plant, and the base is 24, 18, 12, 6. If we will make it into smaller form, that is 4:3:2:1. The sum is 10. The item of expenses relating to that power, the amount is 900. So accordingly we have to divide it on different department. P1 will get 900 into 4/10. That means 90 multiplied by 4, 360. 90 multiplied 3, 270. Then 180. The S1 department will get 90. And the last one is light. We will take it the most appropriate base as floor area. We will take it as a floor area. So the floor area amount is lighting relating to that 120, and the area is on the base of 15:11:9:5. That means the sum of all the ratio, that is 40. So department P1 will get 120 into 15/40. That means 45. Then 120 into 11/40, that is 33. 120 9/40, that is 27. And S1 will get 120 into 5/40, that is 15. So finally we add it, the total of expenses, and also we add individually all the department of expenses, and we will get how much the amount of expenses in total. All the department individually, when we sum up, the same amount also we will get. So this is 0, 2, 5, 7, 12, so 5220. This is the sum total of all expenses, and individually we add it, also we will get that. So this is relating to our overhead distribution summary of this particular problem, and this is called as our primary distribution of overhead summary. So in our next class we will discuss the secondary distribution of overhead summary. That means the service department cost will be allotted to the production department on some equitable basis. So we will discuss in our next class. Thank you all. Have a good day to all of you.